Namo Buddhaya. Buddhang Dhammang Sanghang Namassami. Dear friends in Dhamma, in today's video, I will be sharing the remarkable story of the great Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña, focusing on significant events in his life, including his birthplace, parents, encounter with ascetic Siddhartha, pivotal moment of listening to the first Dhamma discourse, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, in Deer Park, Isipatana, attainment of enlightenment, eventual passing away. Okay, let's explore Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña's life story briefly. Early background of Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña. Kondañña was already a young man when Prince Siddhartha, who would later become the Lord Gautama Buddha, was born. He hailed from a wealthy Brahmin family residing in Donavastu, a village near Kapilavastu, the place of King Suddhodana, chief of the Sakyans. He bore the name Kondañña, derived from his family lineage. A bright student, he excelled in his studies, mastering the three Vedas and displaying a remarkable talent for discerning the physical characteristic of individuals. 16 Great Kingdom of Ancient India. So you can see there are 16 kingdoms: Kamboja, Gandhara, Kuru, Panchala, Kosala, Malla, Vajji, Anga, Magadha, Kasi, Vassa, Surasena, Matsya, Avanti, Chetiya, Assaka. These are the 16 great kingdom of ancient India. So Kapilavastu was near Kosala kingdom. Kapilavastu, the birthplace. Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña was from Kapilavastu and it was near the Kosala kingdom. Nowadays this area is in Nepal. And you can see the Kosala kingdom and also Kapilavastu here. Kapilavastu was King Suddhodana's kingdom, and Arahant Koṇḍañña's village called Donavastu, it was inside the Kapilavastu kingdom. Okay. Father of Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña. Actually his name never mentioned anywhere in Buddhist primary resources or in secondary resources, so we can get an idea through this picture. And he was very wealthy and well-known Brahmin in Kapilavastu, especially the village called Donavastu. This is how we can get his idea of Añña Koṇḍañña's father. Mother of Arahant Koṇḍañña. Especially mother's name also never mentioned anywhere in Buddhist literature, so you can get an idea about how she was looked like in ancient India, especially in Kapilavastu kingdom and Donavastu village. The Añña Koṇḍañña, great Arahant parents were very famous and wealthy in the particular village and kingdom. So these are Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña's parents, mother and father. Their name never mentioned anywhere. So let's move to the another. The naming ceremony of Prince Siddhartha. When Prince Siddhartha was born to King Suddhodana and Queen Mahamaya of the Sakya clans in Kapilavastu, India, a naming ceremony was held on the 5th day. He was named Siddhartha, meaning wish fulfilled. 8 wise Brahmins, including Kondañña, were summoned to examine the baby's birthmarks and predict his future. 7 of them said he would either become a universal monarch if he stayed worldly, or a Samma Sambuddha if he became an ascetic. However, Kondañña, the youngest, predicted that Siddhartha would choose asceticism and become a Samma Sambuddha through his own efforts. When Prince Siddhartha was born, actually, Kondañña, Brahmin Kondañña, was 16 years old. Ruins of King Suddhodana's palace in Kapilavastu, today Nepal. You can see next to me his palace, picture of ruins of his palace next to me on the screen. The naming ceremony was taken part here in this palace. This is another picture of ruins inside King Suddhodana's palace in Kapilavastu, Nepal today. Renunciation of Prince Siddhartha. This is a great art fragment of Gandhara. It belongs 2nd and 3rd century. Today it's in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and you can see how Prince Siddhartha was right before his renunciation. Actually, King Suddhodana was worried when he heard the prediction that his son might become an ascetic, and eventually a Buddha. So he tried to shield Prince Siddhartha from suffering and religious teaching. Siddhartha lived a luxurious life in the palace and married at 16. But at age of 29, witnessing human suffering outside the palace and led him to renounce his royal life. On the day his son was born, Siddhartha left secretly to become an ascetic. By then, only Kondañña, the youngest of the wise men, was alive. When he heard about Prince Siddhartha's decision, he encouraged the sons of the other wise men to join him. 4 agreed: Vappa, Bhaddiya, Mahanama and Assaji. So 5 of them became ascetics, together hoping to find a solution to human suffering with ascetic Siddhartha. You can see another great Gandhara art fragment next to me on the screen. This also belongs to 2nd and 3rd century. Gandhara kingdom is today in Afghanistan and Pakistan. So this mentioned that Prince Siddhartha lived in the palace on a horse during the Great Renunciation, and deities support the hooves of the horse. So you can see Prince Siddhartha on the horse and the other deities and among people supporting, deities supporting. So this is another one of the amazing art fragment from Gandhara. Oh, this is also another Gandhara art fragment. It's also in 2nd and 3rd century from today Afghanistan and Pakistan. It also depicts Prince Siddhartha's renunciation. This also related to his renunciation. You can see Prince Siddhartha is cutting off his hair with his sword, and the Channa, his friend, is standing next to him and collecting his cloth, and he is waiting to take his sword to take to his father, King Suddhodana. So this is another amazing Gandhara art fragment which depicts Buddha's life story, important life stories. This is also renunciation of Prince Siddhartha. Ascetic Gautama's 6 years of austerity. Ascetic Gautama moved to an area called Uruvela and started practicing extreme austerity, believing it would bring him enlightenment and freedom from suffering. Ascetic Kondañña and the other 4 ascetics joined him, offering their support. Together they endured severe practices, including fasting and enduring harsh conditions. So you can see in this artwork next to me ascetic Siddhartha and 5 other ascetic including Kondañña, and they are practicing very intense austerity. Ascetic Gautama's 6 years of austerity. Ascetic Gautama gradually reduced his food intake until he ate nothing, slept on hard ground without rest, and exposed himself to extreme temperatures. He even tortured himself body by holding his breath until he felt severe pain and sometimes passed out. Over 6 years, Gautama became extremely thin, resembling a living skeleton. Kondañña and the other continues supporting Gautama, believing he would achieve enlightenment, which they hoped would benefit them too. So you can see another beautiful Gandhara statue. So this is also belongs to 2nd and 3rd century. It also was in Afghanistan and Pakistan today. So this beautiful and amazing statue is depict austerity of Prince ascetic Siddhartha today is resting in Lahore Museum in Pakistan. In the bottom part you can see 5 ascetics and also the Dharmacakra wheel of Dhamma, like Buddha delivering his first Dhamma discourse. So these are the very depicts on this beautiful Gandhara statue. This is an image of Uruvela and it was taken from Pragbodhi Hill. It is in Gaya, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, India. Today, ascetic Siddhartha Gautama spent around this area for 6 years and practicing asceticism. Around here is a beautiful valley. Pragbodhi Hill, Durgeshwara, Gaya, India. You can see the Pragbodhi Hill from the bottom of the mountain, also modern Tibetan temple. There were many places in Uruvela where he spent 6 years during his self-mortification. One of the places he stayed during this period was a mountain that later came to be called Pragbodhi prior to enlightenment, and which is now known as Durgeshwara as well. So this is the picture of that place. And this is an image of Durgeshwara cave on the Pragbodhi hill. So you can see the cave here. And this is the statue inside the cave, and it depicts how ascetic Siddhartha tortured himself and practiced severe austerity and asceticism during his 6 years asceticism. So this is the beautiful statue, and people apply golden plates on the statue. Ascetic Kondañña's departure from Uruvela. After enduring 6 years of severe austerity and self-mortification, ascetic Gautama found that it didn't bring him closer to enlightenment. He realized that neither extreme self-denial nor indulgence in worldly pleasures helped end human suffering. So he embraced the middle path, a balanced approach to life, which became a key aspect of his teachings. Gautama decided to eat normally and regain his health to follow his middle path. However, ascetics Kondañña and his companions thought Gautama was abandoning his quest for enlightenment to return to comfortable life. Disappointed, they left him and traveled to a place called Sarnath near Varanasi, India. There, they settled in Deer Park at Isipatana. Enlightenment of Lord Gautama Buddha. After ascetic Kondañña and the others left, Gautama began regaining his strength by collecting food from the nearby village of Senani. On a full moon day in May, he bathed in a river and accepted a meal of milk rice from Sujata, the wife of a wealthy merchant. Then Gautama sat beneath the Bodhi tree at Bodh Gaya and resolved to attain enlightenment. Throughout the night, Gautama meditated with determination through his own efforts without any guidance from a teacher. He realized the Four Noble Truths and eliminated all mental impurities. Finally, he achieved full enlightenment and became a Samma Sambuddha. You can see how he defeated Mara and his retinue in this beautiful artwork. Buddha's decision to deliver the first sermon. After attaining enlightenment, the Buddha spent 7 weeks near the Bodhi tree where he gained enlightenment. Wanting to share his newfound wisdom with others, he initially considered teaching his former meditation teachers, Alarakalama and Uttakarama Buddha. However, they had already passed away and been reborn in Brahma world. So the Buddha decided to give his first sermon to his 5 ascetic companions who had supported him during his years of austerity. He found them at Deer Park in Isipatana, despite the distance of around 150 miles. The Buddha walked from Bodh Gaya to Isipatana to deliver his first sermon to ascetic Kondañña and the other 4 ascetics. The Buddha's meeting with the 5 ascetics. As the Buddha approached Deer Park, ascetic Kondañña and the other initially hesitated to welcome him because they thought he had given up his search for the end of suffering. However, as he drew closer, they couldn't resist welcoming him. One offered him a seat, another washed his feet, someone else took his bowl and robe, and another arranged a stool. The 5 ascetics addressed the Buddha by his name as they considered him their equal. But the Buddha advised them not to do so because he had achieved supreme enlightenment. He explained that he had attained enlightenment and persuaded them to listen to what he had to say. This is also a Gandhara artwork. Also, is belonged to 2nd and 3rd century today in Pakistan and Afghanistan. And you can see here all ascetic Kondañña is taking a chair, and other ascetics are also taking various things to welcome the Buddha. So this also amazing fragment of Gandhara art. You can see Buddha and 5 ascetic and other devas in this particular Gandhara art fragment. You can see another Gandhara art fragment next to me, and it also 2nd and 3rd century from Pakistan and Afghanistan. You can see here all ascetic Kondañña is taking a chair and other ascetics are taking various things to welcome the Buddha. You see ascetic Kondañña looks very old here. Artist depicts all important things in this art fragment. So you can see bowl and water container and the chair, everything in this here. This is Chowkhandi Stupa, Varanasi, Uttar Pradesh, India, the place where the Buddha met ascetic Kondañña and his friends traveling from Bodh Gaya to Saranath. This is stupa built in 7th or 8th century to mark the place where the Buddha met his first 5 disciples. Buddha's first sermon to the 5 ascetics. You can see the world famous Saranath Buddhist statue next to me on the screen. The Buddha is preaching his first sermon. This is a stone sculpture of the 5th century CE showing Gautama Buddha in the teaching posture of Dharma Chakra Pavartana Mudra. On the full moon day of July, the Buddha delivered his first sermon called the Dharma Chakra Pravartana Sutta, or Turning of the Wheel of Truth. The ascetic Kondañña and the other 4 ascetics. In this sermon, the Buddha emphasized the importance of following the middle path, avoiding extremes of self-indulgence and self-mortification. He explained the 4 Noble Truths and discussed the Noble Eightfold Path, which is needed to break free from the cycle of birth and death. The 4 Noble Truths are the truth of universal suffering, dukkha satya, and the truth of the origin of suffering, samudaya satya, the truth of the cessation of suffering, nirodha satya, the path leading to the cessation of suffering is called magga satya. So in this very beautiful and amazing Buddhist statue is resting in Saranath museum today. This is a very famous and wonderful statue, and also you can see 5 ascetics on the bottom, and Buddha is preaching his first Dhamma discourse. This is also another amazing Gandhara art fragment. It also 2nd and 3rd century from Pakistan and Afghanistan. This art depicts that Lord Buddha is turning the wheel of Dhamma with his right hand. The first 5 disciples, including Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña, also the deer on the bottom of the picture. Deer reminds us the deer park. So this is also very beautiful artwork. You can see how it is. 5 ascetics and devas and deer and all the important things are mentioned in this art fragment. And you can see here another Gandhara art. Here also the Lord Buddha is turning the wheel of the Dhamma with his right hand. The first 5 disciples, including Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña, also the deer on the bottom of the picture. These 2 Gandhara arts also depict the delivery of the first Dhamma discourse in Deer Park, Savatthi. This is also Gandhara art fragments. Dharmarajika Stupa, Saranath, India. This is a picture of the Dharmarajika Stupa situated within the archaeological site of Saranath in the state of Uttar Pradesh, India. This place is where the Buddha delivered his inaugural sermon to his first 5 disciples. Adjacent to the stupa stand the renowned Ashoka's lion pillar. Nearby lies the Mulagandha Kuti, the first residence of Buddha after his enlightenment. Relics casket was found later from the stupa and it is enshrined in the Saranath Museum today. So you can see the beautiful picture of Dharmarajika Stupa here. Realization of the teaching by ascetic Kondañña. After hearing the Buddha's first sermon, ascetic Kondañña understood the teachings and reached the first stage of spiritual enlightenment in Buddhism, called Extreme Emperor Sotapanna. He realized the essence of the teaching that all things that come into existence due to causes will eventually cease to exist. Yankinchi samudaya dhamman sabbhantang nirodha dhamman. He understood it as whatever arises due to causes will also cease. The first noble disciple of the Gautama Buddha. The Buddhist path of liberation has 4 stages: extreme enterer, Sotapanna, once returner, Sakadagami, non-returner, Anagami, and Arahant, which is the final stage of enlightenment. A extreme enterer is ensured to reach enlightenment as an Arahant within a maximum of 7 births. When someone understands the Buddha's teaching and begins their journey toward liberation, the transition from being an ordinary person, Putujjana, to a noble person, Arya. Ascetic Kondañña was the first human to attain his realization in Lord Gautama Buddha's time, making him the first noble disciple of the Buddha's teaching. Venerable AññaKoṇḍañña, the first Buddhist monk. When ascetic Kondañña realized the Buddha's teachings and became extreme enterer, the Buddha ordained him as a novice Buddhist monk using the ancient formula Ehi Bhikkhu, which means come monk. This ordination could only be performed by the Buddha himself, who recognized the qualities needed for such an ordination. When Kondañña transformed from a layperson to a fully dressed monk with a shaved head and other requisites like the begging bowl, the Buddha ordained himself. Later, Kondañña received higher ordination, Upasampada, with the Buddha acting as the teacher and preceptor. This made Venerable Kondañña the first person to become a novice monk and receive higher ordination in the time of Lord Gautama Buddha. Reason why known as AññaKoṇḍañña. After listening to the Buddha's first sermon, ascetic Kondañña understood the teaching regarding the Four Noble Truths. It said that countless celestial beings also attain various stages of the Buddhist path by listening to this sermon. However, as Kondañña was the first human to grasp the Buddha's teaching in this era, the Buddha declares solemnly, Aññāsivata bo Kondañño, Aññāsivata bo Kondañño, which means, O Kondañña has understood the Four Noble Truths. O Kondañña has understood the Four Noble Truths. After this declaration by the Buddha, Venerable Kondañña came to be known as AññaKoṇḍañña, signifying his deep understanding and veneration of the teaching. Enlightenment of Venerable AññaKoṇḍañña. In the day following the first sermon, the Buddha continued teaching and guiding Venerable Kondañña and the other 4 ascetics. Eventually, all 4 of them, Vappa, Bhaddiya, Mahanama and Assaji, also realized the teaching and became extreme enterer. They were then ordained as Buddhist monks by the Buddha. On the 5th day after the first sermon, the Buddha gathered all 5 monks and delivered a second sermon called the Anatta Lakkana Sutta, focusing on the characteristic of not-self, Anatta. In this sermon, the Buddha explained how clinging to the idea of a self can lead to suffering. He referred to the five aggregations of clinging, form, rupa, feeling, vedana, perception, sanya, mental formation, sankhara, and consciousness, vijnana, to illustrate the absence of a permanent self. After hearing this second sermon, Venerable Aññakoṇḍañña and the other four companions eradicated all mental defilements and attained enlightenment as Arahant. Dhammika Stupa, Varanasi, India. This is the place where Buddha delivered Anattalakkana Sutta, the second sermon of the Buddha. After that, all five monks attained liberation here. They attained Nibbāna, enlightenment, in here. So you can see that image of the stupa. Isipatana deer park, and you can see the Dhammika stupa from the Dhammarajika stupa. Isipatana deer park. You can see this beautiful picture and declaration as the foremost senior monk. Once, while residing at the Jetavana monastery in Savatthi, the Buddha was delivering a sermon to a gathering of monks. During this sermon, the Buddha declared Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña as the foremost among the senior monks in his dispensation. The Buddha said, Etadakam bhikkhave mama savakanan bhikkhunan ratthaññunam yatidang AññaKoṇḍañño. This translates to, O monks, among my disciple monks who are senior in experience, Ratthañña, the foremost in AññaKoṇḍañña. Dhamma Pavilion at Jetavana Monastery, Savatthi, India. This is the place where the Buddha made declaration Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña as the foremost among the senior monks in his dispensation in Jetavana Monastery in India, Savatthi today. Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña's past aspiration. During the time of a previous Samma Sambuddha named Padumuttara, Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña was born into a wealthy family in the city of Hamsavati. When the Buddha visited his city, Kondañña, like other citizens, paid homage to the Buddha. While listening to the Buddha's teaching, the Buddha declared a certain monk to be the first to realize his teaching in that era. Inspired, Kondañña developed a strong desire to be the first to realize the teaching in the era of future Samma Sambuddha. He offered food and robes to the Buddha and the order of monks for 7 days. At the end of this period, he shared his aspiration with the Buddha. The Buddha prophesied that he would fulfill his aspiration in the dispensation of the future Samma Sambuddha named Gautama. After listening to the Buddha's first sermon, the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, setting the wheel of Dhamma in motion for the next 100,000 world cycles, Kondañña continued performing meritorious deeds such as giving alms to fulfill his aspiration. Throughout this time, he was always born either the human world or the heavenly realms, and never in any of the realm of suffering. Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña Therapadana. In the Apadana legend of Buddhist saint, which is part of the Khuddaka Nikaya, a collection of the Buddha's minor discourses, there is a section known as the Therapadana. This division consists of autobiographical poems composed by the Buddha and senior enlightened Arahant, including Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña. In his poem of 17 verses, Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña refers to his past aspiration made in the presence of the Samma Sambuddha named Padumuttara and the prophecy made by the Buddha. The 13th verse mentions the prophecy as follows. In the 7th year after that, the Buddha will declare the truth. He whose name will be Kondañña will be the first one to grasp the teaching of the Buddha. Request to live in the forest. After ordaining as a monk and attaining enlightenment the year as Arahant, Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña accompanied the Buddha on a journey to Rajagaha, invited by King Bimbisara. Soon after, Upadis and Kolita ordained as Sariputta and Moggallana respectively, and upon attaining enlightenment, the Buddha appointed them as his two chief disciples. During discourses given by the Buddha to either monks or lay people, the two chief disciples would sit in the front on either side of the Buddha, while a seat was prepared behind them for Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña, feeling that the two chief disciples might feel uncomfortable with the sitting behind them. As he was older and the senior-most monk, Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña also desired to fully experience the bliss of enlightenment and sainthood. He was also reluctant to engage in the expected social interaction and preaching to visiting devotees. Due to these reasons, Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña approached the Buddha and requested permission to live in the forest. The Buddha granted his request, and for the following 12 years, Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña lived in the forest. Ordination of Punnamantani Buddha. Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña had a sister named Mantani who lived in their village Donavastu near Kapilavastu. She had a young son named Punna, and Añña Koṇḍañña saw that Punna had accumulated merits to become a monk and would excel in teaching the Buddha's teachings. Before leaving to live in the forest, Añña Koṇḍañña went to Donavastu and ordained Punna as a monk. With himself as the teacher, Punna came to be known as Venerable Punna Mantani Buddha. Soon Punna learned and practiced the Buddha's teaching and attained enlightenment as an Arahant without meeting the Buddha. He ordained 500 students and they also became Arahant, but nobody had met Buddha or seen the Buddha. Read the Ratavinita Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya to learn more about this as foreseen by his uncle. Arahant Punna Mantani Buddha became a skillful and renowned teacher in explaining the Buddha's teaching. Due to his exceptional ability, the Buddha declared Punna as the foremost disciple in teaching the Dhamma, Buddha's teaching. Verse of Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña in Theragatha. In the Theragatha, a collection of poems by elder Buddhist monks, Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña is credited with 16 verses. These poems express the joy and happiness experienced by the elder monks upon attaining enlightenment as Arahant, the ultimate stage of liberation. In the last verse attributed to Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña, he reflects on his enlightenment, which marks the final achievement for one who has renounced worldly life to become a monk. The ultimate good for which I bid farewell to the world. and left behind the comforts of home for the homeless life. The highest good I have now attained as a monk. What further need is there for me to live? Passing away of Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña. Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña lived for 12 years near Lake Mandakini in the Chaddanta forest near the Himalayas. It's noted in Buddhist literature that during this time, elephants in the forest attended to him. One day, feeling the time had come to attain the final Nibbāna, he visited the Buddha at the Veluvana monastery in Rajagaha to ask for permission. As was the custom for Arahant during the Buddha's time, after receiving the Buddha's consent and paying final homage, he returned to his residence in Chaddanta forest. That night during meditation, Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña passed away peacefully. Around 500 monks, led by Arahant Anuruddha, were present at the time of his passing. His remains were cremated in the forest, and the relics were taken by Arahant Anuruddha to be handed over to the Buddha. The Buddha enshrined the relics of Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña in the stupa at Veluvana monastery in Rajagaha. Unfortunately, nobody knows where this stupa is today. And dear friends, these are the sources you can read more to learn about Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña. Okay, dear friends, as we conclude this sermon about Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña, I hope you have found it enlightening and enriching. Thank you for joining us in this exploration of Arahant Añña Koṇḍañña life and teachings. We invite you to continue to watch videos like this as we dwell deeper into the wisdom of spiritual figures and their timeless messages. May this knowledge benefit all sentient beings, bringing them wellness and happiness. Namo Buddhaya. May all beings be well and happy. Thank you for watching. Sadhu, 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 sadhu.